Welcome. This is a very special edition where I'm going to be discussing about the importance of Hispanics in the United States and especially in the travel sector and celebrating the success and what can be done to improve, the presence and the visibility. Travel Unity has provided me with three special people to discuss this, and they're with me today. Great to have Jeannette, Karen, and Danny with us. So, how are you guys?
Great.
Doing well, thank you.
Good to see you all. We'll start off with the first question in terms of what does Hispanic Month mean to you guys? So, Karen, I'll start with you. What does it mean to you?
The Heritage Months spread around the year in the United States are an opportunity to elevate the message and to recognize the importance of the different heritage being impact in the United States. I think each Heritage Month says it should be 360 days, as Hispanics say, because it's not, we don't celebrate our culture only there in that 1 month, but it is a way to focus the message and to get different organizations to stop, pause, and acknowledge the culture and the impact that it has had on our communities. So it is important to have the designated months to do that, but it is also important to make ways to continue throughout the rest of the year, not just for the 1 month.
And Danny, what about for yourself?
Absolutely what Karen said. It's an opportunity for us to really focus in and illuminate the contributions of, in this case, Hispanics to the fabric of U.S. culture, which is obviously a very multicultural country. I think at times there are so many different innovations. There are so many different contributions to culture, whether it's literature, art, social justice, government, that I think go unnoticed and underappreciated. And it's a great month to spotlight those things. We are also a country that goes largely by what the market power, the market spend is. And I think this year, compared to most, I've seen so much work, organizations like Hispanic Star, for example, who have aggregated the power of the Latino, the Hispanic spend, and what that means to corporations who are looking to, who we're looking to, should I say, to better represent the needs and interests of who we are and our culture, our language, our diversity. And we're not a monolithic group. I live in Los Angeles. My parents are of Mexican descent. I know Karen said she lived in Nicaragua, probably of different descent. And there's all kinds of Hispanics in the country who share different nationalities, but we all have and the research that my company has done, there's such a close connection to culture and pride. And so the Hispanic Heritage Month allows us to celebrate that outwardly, but increasingly it's really an advocacy call to, as Karen said, make sure that we're being noticed, appreciated, and represented year round.
And Jeannette, for yourself?
Yeah, I definitely am in alignment with Danny and Karen. And individually, they're both doing phenomenal work. I admire and respect them very much. So I'm really grateful to be on this panel discussion with them. And thank you, Shebs, for doing an amazing host that you are. It is interesting because for me, it's something that I've always felt as a young girl, just really not seeing the representation in a lot of areas, not just travel and media, but many different areas. But, for me, it was kind of like I knew that there needed to be a change and I didn't know how. And sometimes as individuals, we can do so much, but collectively, we can do even more. So it's great that we come together, we bring our, talents and contributions, and we see the bigger picture. Okay, this is a movement. It's not a trend. The Latinos and Hispanics, for example, in travel, they've been doing things, they are doing things, and the youth and the younger generations will continue to do amazing things. We just need to pave more ways and show them that we're here and we're happy to be a resource. I have a couple mentees. I've had some amazing mentors. So for me, it's way bigger than myself. And I agree with Danny and Karen that Hispanic Heritage Month in the States It's more than just 1 month. I think a couple years ago, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to do as much as I can in 1 month. And now now it's like, you know what? We deserve to be celebrated and recognized and valued every day, all year. So I'm actually glad that we're doing this today, because we're going to continue these conversations and these important topics year round. So it's a great time, and it's a good time for the whole world to know outside of the U.S. About the importance of Hispanic and Latinos.
The month itself, as you said, you want to celebrate it outside, continue your presence. I guess the month from 15th of September to October 15th is highlighted, obviously, because it's great work that you guys have been doing throughout the year. I want to ask you, because this is something that I have noticed over time with, I guess, because you mentioned it, Karen, you don't want it to be seen as a movement. So how do you stay present in people's minds when it comes to opportunities, I guess? So, Karen, if you answer that question first.
Well, I'll answer it from the professional perspective. I represent the county in the Finger Lakes region of New York State. So we are destination marketing office. So we have integrated a lot of messaging for the Hispanic market, and we try to do it year round. It's not something that we are only highlighting and only elevating that message during the Hispanic Heritage Month. We do extra spotlights during that month. Hispanic restaurants and businesses, they get an extra spotlight during that month in recognition of that celebration. But we have made a significant impact to make sure that the messaging goes on year round. And we do, photo shoots with some of our Latin residents, and we do outreach for the markets that work specifically for them, that they're looking for. Like a lot of the research that Danny reported on, we cater towards families, and fishing is a great outlet for the product that we have. So that's one of the efforts that we try to make sure it is a year-round effort, not something that we're only going to do for that month.
And Jeannette?
I do it every day. I mean, I see myself, just like I said, from my own experience, my own perspective, but as a woman, as a Latina, but I see myself much more than that. I mean, I don't know. I want to do so much more for, on other communities as well. And I just want to learn from other communities as much as I want them to learn from me and from others. I think it's a collective experience that we can all learn from each other, because I don't know everything about everyone, and I'm here to learn. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about travel, because it's like an open live book where we can learn from each other. And a lot of the stereotypes and outdated beliefs that still exist are because of something someone may have heard or seen, but they haven't had the time or experience to go see it for themselves. So that's why I think travel is such an important component of growth, of understanding each other, that we are more similar than we are, different, and just to celebrate, the diversity that we each have.
And Danny, do you have any thoughts?
These are all important initiatives, going down from the level of the destinations to the work Karen is doing to the level of advocacy Jeanette's doing from a media standpoint. With me personally and the work that our organization is doing, so MMGY Global is one of the leading integrated marketing firms for travel, with offices throughout North America and Europe. In 2018, we decided that we were going to be better about uplifting underrepresented traveler voices by focusing on research studies that weren't yet available on travelers of diverse backgrounds. And the first study we released was on a Black traveler starting 2020, early this year, 2-phase report. It talks about the power of the Black traveler, the spend, the reach, but also some really concerning insights regarding feeling unsafe, not feeling represented. Our latest project, Vistas Latinas, which means Latin viewpoints, is doing the same for Hispanic community, and mostly for us, for the travel industry, for hospitality companies, destinations, individuals who don't understand enough about the Hispanic traveler, the power, almost $114 billion that they spend on travel domestically here in the U.S. and much more internationally. And so the work is all around illuminating how sentiment is with these groups, how as consumers, we're ready to spend, we're ready to travel, but perhaps we're not getting the messages or feeling safe or welcomed in the executions that a lot of these travel brands are doing. So from my perspective, you cannot do that in 1 month, right? So these studies have long shelf life and have a lot of utility to prominent brands who have sponsored the study. Hilton, TripAdvisor, prominent destinations like Discover Puerto Rico, NYC and Company, and others. And we hope to do the same globally. We have an MMGY Travel Intelligence Europe division as well, where we launched a Black Traveler study in the UK and Europe. Because in the UK, we saw a lot of the same concerns from Black travelers. So holistically, this is about Hispanics, but it's really about underrepresented travelers. And I think in aggregate, being more equitable about how the travel industry caters to everybody.
I want to take it back and ask you about your journey. I think it's important for people to realize how you got to this stage. What was your journey like when you first broke into the travel sector, and any challenges I'm sure those challenges, but what were the challenges that you faced? I'll start with you, Jeannette, first.
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess broken the industry, I guess it goes back to my childhood, being about 8 or 9 years old, watching both English and Spanish channels, living in a household where both languages, Spanish and English, were spoken, and then going to school, immersing in only English classes. So it was interesting growing up in that dual world of English and Spanish and my Mexican American culture. And so I realized, even when I was watching the Spanish shows, like on Univision, I think Sofia Vergara, a lot of people forget, she had a travel show on Univision, I believe, with some other guy. Nobody was looking at him because Sofia Vergara is just so gorgeous. You know what I mean? And so I would look at her like, wow, she's showing me the world. But she was in a bikini. She was like this. So even as a young girl, I was like, but I don't look like that. Then I would change the channel to like the Travel Channel, and I'd see Samantha Brown, Anthony Bourdain, Rick Steves. And I love Samantha Brown because she was a little more relatable in the sense where, you know, she seemed like somebody I could like be friends with and my next door. So I really looked up to her as a young girl from a woman's perspective, like, oh, there's a woman out there showing me the world. But I didn't see any other like Latinos or Latinas doing it in that space. So I knew what I wanted to do. And I looked at my mother several times. I'd be like, Mom, I'm going to do that one day. I'm going to do that. And she'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever you want, sweetie. You know what I mean? Like really endearing. But in my heart of all hearts, I knew I was going to do this since a young girl. I remember Jennifer Lopez was on the cover of Cosmo Girl. I was about 13, 14 years old. I hand wrote a note to the editor, mailed it to the P.O. box, and I just thanked them for putting Jennifer Lopez without any kind of expectation. I just wanted to thank them. That's how much it meant to me to see representation. And then months later, one of my best friends told me, she said, like, did you write to Cosmo Girl? And I was like, yeah, why? She goes, oh, because they published it in the little editor section, and you're the only Jeannette Ceja I know who's 14 years old who lives in Franklin, Tennessee. And I was like, wow. So from a very young age, I knew my voice mattered, and I knew that, you know, it can make a difference. And so later I pursued a degree in broadcast journalism. I went to UCLA for the professional producing TV and film program with the intention to host and produce a show. One day I wanted to understand all aspects of it. And again, this is pre-social media, pre all that. So whenever someone's like, are you an influencer? No offense, but no, like that is not my goal in life. I really, really want to do something that makes an impact, leaves a really long-term legacy that future generations, for me, it's all about the present and the future generations. I have 3 young nieces. I want them to know that they can do whatever they want in whatever industry. Also, for the young boys out there, I love to see that other men are paving ways. For example, Danny, who's paving many ways and being a great voice, and Karen as a woman as well. So, like I said, individually, we're doing so much, but collectively, we can do even more.
And Danny, what about yourself then? Challenges you faced? How did you break into the industry yourself?
But my story is kind of full circle, and the advocacy that I'm trying to do, I'm also trying to become a mentor for younger people of color, not only Latinos, and I've seen the power of having a voice and being on stage. I remember being in Cancun, accepting an award and stepping down, and this young woman comes up to me. I think she was from Venezuela, who was interning at the resort where we were staying. And she said to me, it's amazing to see somebody who looks like me on that stage accepting an award of that caliber. And I really would love to go to the US and build a career the way you have. And it gives me chills now because I was not expecting that. And so what I mean by full circle is I started this industry doing an internship program. An organization called Inroads came to my high school and said, we're looking for talented minority youth who are interested in business to come into this program where we'll place them in the internship for the 4 summers during their college career and help them build a professional career. I had, the time was the first of my family to go to a university and get a bachelor's degree, should I say, in business. And the internship was in the tourism organization. It was at San Diego Tourism Authority, where I had a chance to learn about meetings and conventions and large hotel blocks and the mechanics of tourism and destination marketing, and launched my career. When I graduated college, I had the equivalent of a year of experience. I had mentors who were looking after me. Nobody of color that I can remember. A couple people who helped me, but really, color to me at that point was not really something that I concerned myself or looking at myself at disadvantage, because I was so enriched with this experience, and my career grew. Did I face discrimination at times? Was I often confused for the valet park guy at conferences, when I'm there to speak or show up for a business meeting? Yes. People give me their dishes sometimes or ask me to get their cars. Yes, that happened a lot, and so did I feel great about it? No, but I understood when I looked around me that there were not many people that looked like me, and still to this day, I grew my career in travel, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that I actually was having a voice of my own. And what was I going to do with that voice, right? Keep my head down and do my work, or use it as a platform to advocate for, I think, the change and the progress that needs to be made. So I focus on that. I focus on the positives. There's people who have it much worse than I do. And when you look at the pandemic effects on Black and brown and underrepresented communities and women in the workforce, when you look at people who have lost their livelihoods, my whole point is you have to create role models like Jeannette, like Karen, to go out there and show young people that anything is possible. And so I really credit this industry and tourism for giving me the platform and the opportunity even to this day. I don't have a chip on my shoulder about those things. Certainly, I don't have it as bad as many people who have been through much more.
Karen, what about your journey? Tell us a little bit about yours.
Let me start with, I'm always so inspired. I've met Jeannette several times, and her story always inspires me. And Danny, it adds a lot of pride to me to hear both of your journeys. I was Nicaraguan born. I was Nicaraguan until I was 8 years old. My parents at the time they still have a Eco Lodge resort. So my love for travel started watching my parents communicate with the visitors and seeing how travel can transform people, automatically give this peace and relaxation, and they allow themselves to leave the burdens of their lives behind them for a little bit and just enjoy the family and the environment. That's when I fell in love with travel, and I knew I'd be in the travel industry. We immigrated to the U.S. when I was 8, and from then until I was much more mature, I disassociated with being Latin. It was hard. Me and my family encountered a lot of discrimination and troubled times. So I grew up and I left my Spanish behind. I said, I don't want to be in this position. It was hard times. but it took a lot of maturity to realize that this is something that I am proud of. It is a path that belongs to me, and it is my culture. And once I made that switch, I'm always constantly looking for an opportunity to, as Jeannette and Danny both said, to uplift other individuals. I look out, especially for the younger community who might be feeling that, so that I hopefully could give them a little step forward. I am now located in the tourism industry in central New York in the county of Cayuga County, where we're the home of Harriet Tubman, which is a powerful Black woman who left a legacy of fighting for equality. So I am extremely proud to be here because I am able to continue this. And we actually are a very data-based organization. We purchased the Black Traveler Research, the MMGY did, and it's been a wonderful resource. I mean, it brought a lot of great information in order for us to focus, and it elevates all culture. It elevates all communities that we need to reach out to. And so we're through that messaging, and I'm extremely proud to be where I am because it's not an easy road to follow to elevate this message, but I work for a board that is very supportive. And to me, that means a lot because it's not just my company and I decided to go on this route. I have the full support of a board that says, yes, this is a path we want to follow. So it's a continuous challenge because you want to keep travel happy, and the message is always happy, it's always uplifting, but it is for everybody. So that's my life.
All three of you is inspiring stories, and it's great to hear that there's people out there that if you've got a dream in life, you should definitely go for it. And something that Jeannette said earlier, that I've written it down here, identifying someone on TV or someone that you can relate to. I can definitely answer. Well, when I was growing up, I'm from a South Asian background, and there was not one single representation within the travel sector. Still isn't, actually, from my sort of heritage, which is Bangladesh. There's not one. I can't think of any, and I totally get what you're saying, that if you see it, you think, oh, maybe I can be like that person. And I think it's really important. So it comes to my question about community. So when you go into communities and when you speak to people, what's it like? What do they struggle with? How can you support the community? I think it's all about growing a community. So what's it like for you guys when you go in? So I'll start with Karen with this one first.
In the community that I'm at right now, the Hispanic population is not that great. So it's almost like you need to seek it out to support it. And it is a representation. It is supporting them not only in their voice, but in their business, and getting some more messaging so that more people can be aware of the businesses there and get more movement. Because the more it is acknowledged, then more people will be willing to go into the business because they know it's available. My daughter, she is a big advocate, so I love to hand that down to the next generation. And I see her seeking out friendships that she can associate as being a proud Latin woman herself. So it's having open eyes and looking for different individuals and trying to elevate that message. As I mentioned, through our various marketing campaigns, we try to get local Latin families to participate with us, to do photo shoots, and to tell their story and to take their message to their hometowns, to their relatives where they are. One of them has a lot of family over in the Bronx, so we can bring them up here and grow the community as it is, and give them more opportunities to go into business so we can have more of them to highlight.
Jeannette, I know I've known you for over a year now, potentially 18 months.
Yeah.
We've spoken about you speaking in schools, talking to kids and stuff.
Yeah.
What do they tell you when it comes to, I guess, struggles or potentially having a low self-esteem of themselves?
I think it's important. Like, one thing I used to do red carpets in Los Angeles too when I was doing producing school. I worked in sports, etc. But I always had the travel. I never let go of the big travel dream. for me in high school and in college, I had people who saw my heart and my purpose, and they already knew, but and I knew what my purpose, my heart was, but I didn't believe in myself. And I think that's a common thing that a lot of people experience, especially the youth. Maybe it's you got to develop that self-belief and self-love and the mindset. What are your beliefs about yourself? Do you think you can? So the common thing that a lot of successful people, my mentors, they always say they believed in themselves, and that takes consistent work. It's like planting the seed, nurturing their environment, watering it on a daily basis. We are like the same thing. And now where I am at 35 years old, my mindset, my self-love, my self-belief in myself is so like through the roof. But that's because I had to really, really dig deep, do shadow work, look at my own limited beliefs. Why was I playing small for so long? Why was I afraid to be seen? Why was I afraid to be heard? Why was I afraid of all this stuff? And for me, in my personal experience, it was fear of success. I had failed many times, but I believed in my purpose, so I kept going. But when I was successful and when I was being seen and heard, I felt uncomfortable. Why? Because I didn't feel worthy. So it's like really, really deep. But I think that a lot of people can relate in different ways. So I think no matter what industry, no matter what you want to do, whether you see someone doing it or not, it comes down to the relationship with yourself, and you have to believe in yourself. And that is something that I can say that is my best advice, is working on yourself, believing in yourself, loving yourself, knowing that you are important and that your voice is enough. I know it sounds very cliche, but nobody knows you better than yourself. Right. So, working on yourself. And this is what I tell a lot of the students and mentees, is that they can do it, they have to know what they want. They have to be very clear, consistent, put in the hard work. Yes, skill set, but also mindset work, right? What is it that they believe, and who do you hang out with? What are you watching on TV? What podcasts are you listening to? Who are the friends you're surrounding yourself with? What events are you going to? Summits. Is it uplifting you? Are you around people who are balcony people who want you to, strive higher? Or are you around with basement people who want you to play small and who make you, I don't know, not believe in yourself? So it's all important, and that's what I tell them. And the reason why I'm here today too is because there's so many people who believed in me even when I'm in my and I think that's what it's important, especially as leaders, as thought leaders like Karen and Danny and myself, and as future mentors, possibly, is to really see people and inspire them, empower them, and show them that they can. Right,
Danny, for yourself, what's the message that you get when you speak to communities?
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because I have a large extended family here in Southern California where I still live, and a lot of my cousins and a lot of people who are close to me, still have very much are in situations that are not ideal, or could be construed as people still looking to make a living and get ahead, right? So my influence is very immediate with my own family, who I was lucky enough to have mentorship and a support system around me, and that's what I feel like they see in the efforts that I represent, and even the travels that I've made in my career. When people see that I was in Papua New Guinea, or in the desert of Chile, or wherever it is, it's like, whoa, you can actually, that's possible. Like, I could do that. And that was the first experience I ever had with being somebody who my family looked up to, was just saying like, wow, how do you do that? Like, how is that possible? Like, I'm afraid to leave the house, or I'm afraid to leave my area, or I wouldn't even know where to start to get to South America or to Europe or wherever it is. And I think that from a travel perspective, I've heard a lot of podcasts, and before the launch of our Vistas Latinas research, I was trying to get a lot of insights from other Latinos and Hispanics on what the barriers were with Latins traveling, right? So why do we stay to the regions that we're used to, or why aren't we going to far-flung destinations? Some of us are. I mean, Jeannette's all over the world. I like to travel as well, but for the most part, some Hispanics still feel like that's not possible for them, right? And so part of the research was trying to figure out, why is that the case, right? So a lot of like not knowing about how to use online travel agencies, or how to book online directly, or how the connections work, this fear of the unknown. And so when I go to community now, I'm loving that all these groups are popping up. The Latinx Travel Club, and there's Latino travelers on Instagram. And I was just seeing a post yesterday about some of the discrimination. And so for me, community is making sure that we're touching all facets, that the people who, as Jeannette said, are just looking to get ahead in life and figure out their path of empowerment as a working professional, regardless of travel, to people in travel who are saying, you know what, why aren't we out there more? Why aren't we being represented in campaigns and in travel brand efforts and advocates? And so I'm loving the engagement on all levels. I'm loving engaging with people who are Hispanic themselves in travel brands and marketing, who are saying, you know what, there's something to be said there. The fact that for example, in this country, and I've been very vocal on LinkedIn, we have 62 million Hispanics in the country, but the number of executives in the destination marketing industry who claim to represent the interests of local communities, you can count on one hand how many actual C-suite leaders in these major destinations exist of Hispanic descent. So community is starting to connect the dots for people and say, look, if I knew there was somebody like me here, I probably could have a role model, a mentor, a path to this journey for myself, for a better future for my family. So it works in many different ways, but I feel like the work that we're doing collectively, many people, especially people who aren't on this podcast today, I think it's going to move the needle. I really do.
In terms of improvements, what can be done to improve the way things, I guess, from what you see right now, what could be done to make it better for the next generation? I will start with you, Danny.
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's getting underrepresented travelers to just be travelers who matter to travel brands, getting insights and research out, which we're doing now. And it takes a lot more than just one company doing it. I want all my competitors to be doing this. Don't tell my boss I said that. I want there to be more research on the different facets. We cannot, and Jeannette knows this because Jeannette's a key part of this research study in Travel Unity, the organization she's with. We cannot get to every possible issue or data set or consideration. Researching during a pandemic also was unfair, right, to our market. Why? Well, we know that the pandemic disproportionately affected Black and Brown communities. We know that when we look at the top concerns for Hispanic travelers, it was around COVID safety, right? Losing their job because of COVID or not being able to afford travel. So while this research is great, I'm a little frustrated that this couldn't be a normal travel year to really show and bring up the challenges and the true opportunity in the market size of Latinos. So research is important. Application of the research. I have a lot of people who buy the research because they think it's the right thing to do, and then you never see any action from it, right? So how are you actually shifting your strategies? Or they'll say, well, they're not traveling. Look, it's not an opportunity market for us. We only have so many dollars. That's a total cop-out, right? Because why are they not traveling? Because they're not seeing themselves. It's a vicious cycle of you're not prioritizing this market, so you're not ever going to connect with the traveler, and they're never going to come to you. You keep that vicious cycle going, we're not going to get anywhere. So marketers and travel brands need to do better about applying and using the multiple channels at their disposal, not just paid advertising, but everything, right? Influencer content, public relations, to really start reflecting the diversity. And then, as I mentioned previously, getting more leadership, having boards and C-suite positions reflect the diversity of this country, including Hispanics at the top levels who have the experiences we have to say, this is my journey, or have we considered this perspective? You need to more women, more people of color, more Hispanics. And so I think those three things need to work in concert consistently. I'm sure my co-panelists have other thoughts.
Or Jeannette, what about yourself? What's your thoughts?
Well, here's the thing. I agree with Danny. And like I said, he's doing amazing work. And I'm so happy and proud to know him and to see him, just pave more ways for future generations. For me, I don't think we have to prove ourselves because I think we are already worthy. We have so much value and talent. I think it's just the awareness of what's already out there. For example, this year, yes, we have been in pandemic, but recently, a lot of Latinos and Hispanics have been doing their own events, like the Latin Travel Club. I was just in Miami and I moderated two of their panels. They had tech, media, travel and startup investing, and it was phenomenal. Like the speakers and the attendees from all multiple ages and diversity, Latinos and not Latinos, just everybody. It was amazing, and I learned a lot from them as well. Also, this year was the first Latinas in Aviation Global Festival, which was an event that the founder of Latinas in Aviation, she's a pilot. She's written 26 books. She's an entrepreneur. Her name is Jacqueline. She did it herself. She partnered with a museum, aviation museum, who he's also Latino, and they're like, let's do an event. Let's celebrate the women and Latinas who are pilots, who work for the FAA, who are engineers, and it was a phenomenal event. That was another one. The study by MMGY Global, that was like the first of its kind. Amazing. So I think that we and anything that I can do as myself, I do as well, covering events just to bring more awareness to the public that there are amazing Latinos and Hispanics doing things. We are worthy. We're contributing. We like to travel. We're in phenomenal career positions. Like these women pilots are from commercial airlines to private jets to air traffic controllers, amazing. It's just for me, my job is just wanting to bring awareness and to share and be a bridge between them and the public.
And for yourself, Karen?
I would answer that in one word: persistence. I think there's a lot of really good initiatives already out there, but just like the one in my organization, if we do this great, wonderful campaign and we target, to the Latino market and we craft it beautifully, but that's the only thing we do, it's not going to move the needle. So it's persistence, it's ensuring that a lot of the initiatives that are out there continue going. We're not going to accomplish much if we just do a blip in the map. And it's hard because you're not going to succeed from one. So you feel like it wasn't a good thing to do. And, so to move forward, to continue advocating and fighting, to continue doing those events and that exposure of those businesses, it requires that persistence that you need to keep going. And like Danny said, applying the research, just having it's not really that important as seeing it and digging into it to find the alignment between what you are doing and how it applies to your particular well-being organization, whatever it is, and moving it forward. And I do agree that we need more of this. We need more research, not only from major research organizations, but from the businesses themselves, because you need to understand how your customers are reacting to what you're sending out there and how you can continue progressing forward in those initiatives. And as has been said a couple of times, it's not just about the Hispanic market. It's about underrepresented communities and the diversity, and how the diversity of all of our voices being elevated makes that difference, and it supports and it elevates all of us at the same time. So, which kind of loops back to your initial question about the cultural months that are represented in the U.S. throughout the year. It's a great way to do a little bleep, but you have to continue the 360 days of the year with the message. So it's the same answer for moving the needle forward. Is that persistence from year to year with the same messaging.
Since 1988, how much progress have you seen since then? And one question I want to ask you is: do you guys see yourselves as role models then, and see yourselves as someone that people can look up to, or do you not see that at all? So I'll start with you, Jeannette.
Oh, wow. What a great question. Did you say what year did you say? 1988 or
1988,
90?
yeah, 1988.
Oh, I was just 2 years old. But I will say, ever since I was a baby, I've been going back and forth to Mexico City. So I've had a passport since I was one, basically. So I've been traveling, since I was a young girl, going back and forth to visit relatives in Mexico. Um, I don't know. I see a lot of progress in the past couple of years, as far as the diversity, inclusion, equity movement. I will say I met Ronnie back in 2017, 2018 in New York. And I've been, I heard what he was talking about, travel unity. I was like, oh, I want to be a part of this. I saw his heart and I saw his purpose, and I was like, I want to help you in whatever way I can. And so I got involved. And with Ronnie, I've always told him, hey, let's include the Latino Hispanics. Hey, so he's always been absolutely, So he did one at New York Travel Festival. We did some in New York. Travel Summit a year or two ago. So I really like what he's been doing, for example, Travel Unity. I think what across the board, I'm seeing so much more progress in the past year or two with this diversity, inclusion, and equity movement. I think it's much more proactive now. And I think that a lot of people are realizing this is not a trend. This is here to stay. Everything from advocating and being more inclusive to Hispanic, Latinos, to other underrepresented communities as well. Also to travelers with disabilities, with physical disabilities, LGBTQ travelers. I mean, just everyone, making sure that everyone in whatever form that we can do what we can to make them feel included, heard, appreciated. And for me, like I said before, it's about learning from each other, because I don't know everything about everyone, and I'm here to learn. I'm a student, and I think that's the progress I'm seeing across the board. So I'm also an optimist, and I was an actual cheerleader in high school. So I will always find the silver lining, as annoying as that may be. I just think of things in the optimistic way.
Karen, what's your thoughts?
I would wholeheartedly agree with Jeannette. Yeah, but I was graduating high school, so I have seen change, but I think a lot of it is also my point of view and where I am in my life, how I interpret the things going on around me. Because I see a lot more movements. I see lots of more opportunities for your voice to be heard than I ever felt I had before. So yes, I think there has been a lot of progress, and there is more to come, because the wave has just been going, and there has been, sometimes the progress is very little at a time, but so long as you get one little step ahead, even if you get knocked back every now and then, but I think we're seeing more of it. So I am very hopeful that the movements hopefully will be bigger steps forward than they were. And as far as your question of whether I see myself as a role model, that is hard, because I don't, until every now and then I see it in the eyes of some of the people that I speak to. I don't until sometimes I'm giving a presentation, a room full of, well-to-do white men, and then somebody says, "Where's your accent from?" I'm so glad to have somebody different in the room. So that kind of lights my head. It's like, wow, somebody noticed and somebody cared, and it was important to somebody. So that's when I say, yeah, the position that I am and where I'm standing makes a difference. And if making a difference makes you a role model, then in that little way, I guess we all should be.
And Danny?
So I'll tell you this. So growing up in Southern California, in San Diego, to me, I'm not in New York State, upstate New York or other places. There are a lot of Latinos here, a lot of Hispanics, a lot of people. I am from San Diego. Coming to LA was always different. In San Diego, I felt like the workforce in LA was just different to me. And I've always been surrounded by lots of culture. My mom was a Chicana activist in San Diego in the 70s. She has a mural in Chicano Park. She spoke about, in their early years about equity in education and access to education and a better future, and the fact that schools back then were being looked at prisons. So you have to say there has been absolute progress from the 80s, I would say, to now in terms of representation and empowerment of individuals, the fact that, we can have voices and be heard. I have also been traveling around the country since the pandemic has started to abate, and have for the first time been in front of groups of all white audiences or mostly white audience or half Black audiences, and they react to me. And it's great to see that I'm just a professional with a point of view who they respect. And sometimes leaving my bubble of Southern California, I feel like, oh, is this going to land well, right? Am I going to connect? Am I different than other people? And no. So I feel like there has been progress. Do I feel like there's equity yet? No. For every facet of our industry, you look at being in LA, a lot of entertainment here, there's still, you look at representation in film, in media, in the travel industry, I'll say it again, in C-suite. But that's just my perspective, right? So I think there's more progress to make. But I'm happy that there is at least that month where people feel like we can really be activists and advocates and say what we want to say, and not just having come out of left field. Mentor. I grew up in a heavily mentored situation, and I always had this idea of paying it forward and giving back. To me, there's been so many people in my life who have helped me to get to where I am, and I would not be here without them. So to me, it was not a matter of ego, or let's say feeling like I have something better than the next person to say. It's a matter of responsibility. And I get reminded of this when it's stories about the young lady in Mexico and other people who are not Latino who come up to me and say, wow, I really appreciate what you're doing. Lately, most of my talks have been on the Black Traveler Study. And most of the people who have come up to me have been Black women, Black men, young Black professionals who say, I'm working with my board of directors. I really think this is important, but politically it's sensitive because of, we have, civil war heritage here, and they might be, and there's this whole political thing that I won't get into, but, they look to me for advice, and I love it, and I love that I can be there for that person. It's a one-to-one thing. It's not a matter of being this industry figure or whatever. It's about these one-on-one conversations. So I do enjoy the role. I welcome it more. I've been actively giving back to the organization, inroads I mentioned. Plus, every year I go to my friend Melissa's 8th grade class and do my presentation on where my journey. So it's something I enjoy.
And final question before I let you guys go. On a personal level, where would you like to see yourself, let's just say, in the next few years in terms of the industry? Where would you like to see the industry as well? I'll start off with Jeannette with this one.
Oh gosh, that's
tough question.
That's a tough question, but a great question. Again, another fabulous question. And I will say, Danny and Karen are definitely role models. So they definitely are. Where do I see myself in a couple of years? Is that the question? Okay. So before I'm 40, in 5 years, I will like to either be producing or hosting some kind of show that's educational and aspirational. It's the dream of my little girl dream of mine. But another thing I like to do is I've always wanted, find more ways to give back. So something that I would love to do at my alma mater, Belmont University, is to create a study abroad scholarship with them, and to give students, something that's, for me, the most important: education and travel. So for me, I would really love to advocate for more students to do study abroad. And let's see, what else? I'd love to have a family, get married one day. I mean, how much work, how much personal, but on an industry level, for travel, tourism, etc. I would just like this to be like the norm where, we're not constantly having to, knock on doors and, ask to be included, where it's just kind of the norm, where, you see diversity on all fronts, and you see, from, like Danny was saying, from C-suites to the boards to travel companies to media to every sector, where it's just more women, more LGBTQ, more diversity in everything, where it's not like, it's just the norm. It's like it's our new norm. So I hope we get there, and I hope that I don't know, I'm a huge advocate for STEM and space. I think in another lifetime I'd be an astronaut or a pilot. So I might go back to some flight lessons. These Latina pilots really inspired me as well. So you never know. Maybe I'll go, for my private pilot license.
And Karen, what about yourself? What sort of aspirations and achievement do you want to achieve in the next few years?
I'm actually extremely happy for myself, exactly where I am. I think I am exactly where I need to be for the next 5 years or so. What I want to see is the people around me more represented. I want to see more businesses from underrepresented groups. I want to see more visitors from underrepresented groups. I want to see more tourism product directed towards underrepresented groups. So I want the environment around me to elevate and to address a lot of the diversity needs. But as far as myself, I'm going to tell you, I am very happy where I'm at, because I am in a position where I can help, and that's an important position for me.
That's always important as well. If you're happy with where you are, then I guess you've achieved what you set out to achieve, and it's just maintenance, isn't it? And how you can help others, succeed, really. And Danny, what about yourself in terms of your future aspirations and goals? And
aspirations, well, much like Karen, I'm enjoying this ride. I'm enjoying I'm incredibly humbled, actually, to be invited to speak to things and speak with individuals who are looking for guidance here. And I think that most of the invitations and most of the interest is coming from a good place. I am a marketer. I have clients. I work for an agency that does active marketing, and we have conversations about how to apply these things. There is a lot of work to be done. There is a general still discomfort with some of these topics, some of these realities, and some of these ways to mobilize this work. There are still many situations in which I give a presentation and there is absolutely no questions from the audience, and it's tense and it's nervous, and the audience is homogenous. There's still many conferences I go to, even recently, where it's, again, I count on a couple of hands, the leadership who is of color. Quickly, the industry is moving forward towards recovery from the pandemic. Focus on the bottom line, focusing on opening borders, focusing on workforce issues, which also have a lot to do with this topic. And I fear that that this will lose priority, not significance or importance, but priority within the clients that we work with, and not to mention specifically MMGY. I'm just saying the industry. So my goal, aspiration, is to keep the foot on the gas pedal consistently, and to continue to advocate for this work, because I think it's going to be, not only is it important for diversity, equity, and inclusion, but if you are a marketer and if you're looking at the trends happening in this country and you're not reacting to them, then you're an irresponsible marketer, because you're a traditional market. You're what somebody called recently, we're interested in more of a mainstream audience. That's changing.
Awesome, guys. Just before I let you guys go, I just want to clear something. So in 1968, Lyndon Johnson first started the Hispanic celebration. It was a week long. Ronald Reagan in 1988 made it into a month. So I just want to make sure I got that clear. So when I said 1988, that's what I meant.
Wow, Reagan, I'm impressed. Okay.
It's been amazing having you guys on this chat. I've learned a lot. I hope you have enjoyed talking to me as well. Listen to one another as well. And Yeah, final words for you guys. So, Karen?
Final words, I guess. I will go back to my idol, Harriet Tubman. I absolutely adore that woman and everything she accomplished and everything she stood for, and the fact that her legacy is still so strong. And I think she represents all the underrepresented communities. So that's who that's who elevates my message. So those are my lasting words.
And your final words, Danny?
So, activist named Dolores Huerta in the 70s when she was helping Cesar Chavez through his protest, coined a term called "Si se puede," yes, we can. And I think that's the spirit, right? We can all do it, and not just for this group, but for all underrepresented travelers and for making travel a more equitable industry. And thank you for having us, also for providing this platform of conversation and just focus on the topic. I hope that we can do a lot more of these, with different groups from different backgrounds.
And final words to you, Jeannette.
Oh my goodness. Final words. Just, keep believing in yourself. This goes to everyone as an individual, and whatever it is that you want to do. Even if you don't see it, you can be it. So like Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. So that speaks for you too, Shebs. Be the one if you don't see it, you're doing great work too. So thank you, Shebs and Karen and Danny, for just having this time to connect. And I'm really grateful and I admire all of you. So thank you.
Thanks to all three of you, and thanks to Travel Unity for giving me this opportunity to speak to you in this room. So thank you very much, and I'll speak to you guys very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
Bye.
Thank you.
Danny.